Hey friends, I want to share with you a series of videos about something that has really been very evident in my life that was not good. And it's taken me about 10 years to fully walk out of it, and still I work on it sometimes. But this is called codependence. And I didn't even know what this was till about 10 years ago. I never heard of it. I did not know what was wrong with me, but I had been growing in the Lord and growing in a lot of freedom, but there were still little pockets within me that would trigger and just knee-jerk reactions and just not healthy, but I really didn't know the way out. And even though I had been to counseling off and on over the years, I still had struggles that really were deeply rooted in my identity. But I want to explain some things about codependence, and I want to share with you thoughts that I have on walking out of it. So for today, I want to say this first, that if you are dealing with codependent behavior patterns, it does not mean you are bad or defective. It does not mean that you are not valuable or worthy of love, because you are Yahweh's creation, and that means you're extremely valuable and you are totally worthy to be loved. So what happens that we became codependent? Some people learn this as children. The family is very codependent. Some people learn it later in life out of relationships that are not healthy, being around other people that are not healthy, or living with people that are not healthy. And so what we do is we have to perform well in order to live. And that's kind of one bottom line about codependence, is this performance-based lifestyle that really drains all the life out of you. If someone has lived with an emotionally sick person, a troubled person, an alcoholic, something like that for very long, they more than likely have developed codependent relationships, and they've done it to survive. But what actually happens, it turns into self-destruction, and you're actually destroying yourself. This is a really big deal. Codependency comes from an unhealthy imbalance of power in a relationship. Think about that. An unhealthy imbalance of power in a relationship. Because healthy relationships have mutual respect, mutual love, mutual care, mutual concern. But an unhealthy, imbalanced relationship, someone has got power over the other one. And so codependency is when your identity and your well-being hinge on someone else's approval of you. Oh my gosh, you need to think about that for a long time. I lived so much of my life with this. I had to have everyone's approval. I rejected myself if they rejected me. Actually, I sent out self-rejection because I drew rejection to me, so I was sending it out. If you have a poor self-image, first, and second, if you have weak boundaries, you're absolutely leaving yourself open to being preyed upon by someone who is selfish or someone who is impossible to please. Let that kind of sink in. I'm going to say that again. If you have a poor self-image, or if you have weak boundaries, then you are leaving yourself open to being preyed upon by someone who is totally selfish or impossible to please. So this subject is so vast and so broad, I will not be able to cover all of it. But I'm going to hit parts that were really important for me, and it's totally going to take more than one video. But here are some characteristics of a codependent person. And when I first saw these characteristics, I was shocked. My mouth just dropped to the ground. I was like, this is me. Some of these are my life. So I'm going to share a few of them today, and I'm going to share a few ideas of what you can start to do to help yourself step into more freedom. Okay, number one, codependents are caretakers. They think and feel responsible for other people's feelings, other people's thoughts, other people's actions, other people's choices, other people's wants and needs, other people's well-being or their lack of well-being, and their ultimate destiny. A codependent will feel responsible for those things. Like they'll feel responsible if I hurt your feelings. Now, I'm not talking about we don't care for other people's feelings. We do. I'm talking about when, to the best of your knowledge and ability, you have spoken with respect and courtesy and truth, but their feelings are hurt. Sometimes it's not your fault. It is because something in them. But if I'm codependent, I totally take it as my responsibility that their feelings are hurt, and this is not always right. Number 2, codependents feel anxiety and pity and guilt when other people have a problem. Oh my gosh, this could still be me today. I can look at all the problems in the world and I can feel anxiety about it, or I can have a lot of pity. Now, I'm not talking about compassion or love or care or doing what you're led to do by the Spirit of God, but I'm talking about this guilt you carry around because they have a certain problem and you don't. Maybe you worked through that problem. Maybe you faced that yourself with Yahweh in His presence and with His fire and His ability to change that in you. And now this is gone from you. I cannot feel anxiety because of someone else's problem. I can have compassion, love, and care, but not anxiety for it or responsible for it. They feel compelled, almost forced, to help that person solve the problem, such as offering unwanted advice, giving a rapid-fire series of suggestions, or that I have to fix their feelings. Did you know sometimes you just can't do it? A dear friend of mine said to me one time, Shara, you just can't fix it. And it was concerning someone else. I could not fix it. But codependents feel like they have to try to fix it. And then they're just driven in their mind on what they can do to fix it. This is not peace. They feel angry when their help is not effective. They share their advice and then they're angry because you didn't listen. Codependents often anticipate other people's needs, trying to stay ahead of it. And they wonder why others don't do the same for them. Codependents find themselves saying yes when they mean no. Oh, have you ever done that? I did that so much because then I'm worried about their feelings or how they're going to react or respond, or are they going to attack me verbally because I said no and they wanted me to say yes. Codependents find themselves doing things they don't really want to be doing. They find themselves doing more than their fair share of the work. Honestly, it's because they cannot own up to their true self, or doing things for other people that other people are actually capable of doing for themselves. But they're these super fixers and super caretakers. They wear themselves out. Actually, caretakers that are codependents that are caretakers do not know what they want and need, or they tell themselves what they want and need is not important. This is not healthy. This is codependent behavior, and it is very self-destructive. You know, some of my other videos, I've really talked about loving yourself, because the truth is you cannot effectively love another person in health if you don't love yourself in all health. So the first thing you have to want is to change. Do I want to live codependent the rest of my life, or do I want to take the steps necessary, do the work, the internal work, to change and become healthy? Because here was one of my first awakenings that I realized about codependence and the people that I was codependent with and not living in a healthy relationship with. When I face Yahweh, I face him alone. No one else will be there. My husband will not be there. My children will not be there. My grandchildren will not be there. My friends will not be there. Church members will not be there. I will be there alone. And that means I alone am responsible for myself. And accepting personal responsibility is your first step out of living an unhealthy life. Because if you're living an unhealthy life, you will never fulfill your destiny. You will never reveal and walk in the plan that Yahweh has for you. Because it's impossible. You're taking care of everyone else. So, I want you to stay with me, because I'm totally not saying we don't help people, that we don't care for people, but those things must come from health, and they must come from being led by the Spirit. And there is so much in this, like I said, I couldn't even cover it all in one video or several, but I'm going to do my best to help. Okay, listen to this. This is very important to know. Codependent people become so attached to other people that they have detached from themselves. And so one of the first steps is for you to begin to get to know yourself. I was in a session with my friend Yana Sanders that I talk about often, and she made this statement. I have to give her the credit, because it was so powerful that when she said it, everything in me shook. It's like any prison door, they rattled. Any prison I put myself in, it was rattled. She said, if you have a series of broken relationships, the first break was with yourself. Oh my gosh, that's so powerful. It's so true. I saw it. It was true in myself, and it is just the truth. Because Yahweh wants us to know ourselves. He wants us to know who He created us to be and what His desire is for our life. And if we're so busy being so attached to everyone else, we'll never know ourselves and know what His exact purpose is for us. So it's very important to step into freedom. So I want to ask you some questions to ask yourself, and you might want to jot these down and start to think about these. Okay, what do you like if no one else is involved in the decision? Don't ask anyone else what they like. What do you like? Because our purpose here is get to know ourselves. It could be about food. It could be about where you're going. It could be about your home, your clothes, what you wear, how you look. I just accepted it finally. I like bling. I'm going to wear bling. I know people look at me and they can judge me because they don't know the depth of my person if I have on bling. And I'm just like, well, I'm sorry. This is what I like. So what do you like if no one else is involved in the decision? How do you feel about yourself without another person's input? Oh man, that'll reveal a lot of stuff to you. It'll reveal your level of self-love. And your self-love is holy. It's not prideful. I talked in a video about it if you want to go listen to it. Self-love is holy. It's right. Do you believe you are valuable? This is very important, because all the time I'm seeing people, and I see, it could be girls or guys, but I tend to see it more in girls, and they're with somebody that treats them terrible. You know what that is? They have no value system. They do not value themselves. This was me. I did not value myself. So I connected with abusers. I connected with people that treated me badly. It took a long time to get healed from it. But if I would have valued myself, I would have never connected with them. So do you value yourself? Do you believe you're valuable? Do you believe you're worthy of love? So much comes from unworthiness. And this is, this stuff isn't happening quick to walk out of it. Now you can gain a large portion quickly, but you'll spend time working through things, especially if you've had behavior patterns and triggers. But I want to encourage you this. This is so possible. And this is what Yahweh's heart is for us, to live so free, so loved, so knowing that we are valuable and knowing that we are worthy of love. Last question. Why have I given another person the power to dictate who I am and what I do when I am Yahweh's creation? Big question. Now, I really am going to work at addressing these things out of my own personal life because I lived it. So what I want you to do is answer some of these questions above. We're going to talk about more of these characteristics, and we're going to talk about how to find the real you and find freedom from codependence. And like I said a while ago, the first thing that I realized was I alone was responsible for me. So I want you to begin to meditate on that. I alone will face Yahweh alone. And then one of the first ways I began to know myself was I began searching for what is Yahweh like? What is his heart? What is he like? Because he is my Father. And as I began to find out who he was as the Father that was faithful, the Father that was merciful, the Father that was kind, the Father that always corrected me with mercy and love, the Father that always valued me, the Holy Spirit who never forces, ever, but always gives me a choice, even if I make the wrong choice. As I begin to know those things, I started giving myself permission to find the real me. So I want to challenge you with this, and this will take a little bit of time to talk about and to work through. But I want you to know that you're worthy to be loved. You're extremely valuable because you belong to Yahweh, and he desires your freedom because you cannot be spiritually mature if you are not emotionally mature. I love you and I bless you, and I'll see you next time.